za kwenu wadau, mko salama? So I'm okay right now. I'm a little settled in. I feel better. I moved houses to a far away land from Nairobi where the sun never shines, but maybe it's just this rainy season that has decided this December wacha January kikuja tuone kama bado mvua itakataa kunyesha ama jua itakataa kuwaka huku kwetu. It's a bit chilly and generally very cold. And as I've said, I'm in a new house. I still haven't figured out where I'll be shooting the episodes. So that's why today we are in my bedroom where I receive the best lighting so far. So before I get that sorted out, nimesema nisikae sana kama hamjaniona, mneza nisahau na vile mimi mtu VIP kwenye I'm the OG and I need to be respected. But I'm so glad now moved. I promised you guys a quieter space, so at least hapa niko sure hamtasikia walevi wakitoka kwa bar, nduthi wakipigana, sijui watoto wakilia. By the way, I don't know why kids were always crying and screaming where I was. Anywho, it's how you raise your kids. I don't know. But let's get to this episode, which is about my Lisp. If you don't know what a lisp is, a lisp ni ulimi nzito, a heavy tongue. And most of the times I'm doing this particular episode, it's going to be a mini-sode really because it won't be that long. But when we're talking about a lisp, I'm talking about this specifically. You know, the first episode is about insecurities, but this one is specific because there are things when we were growing up felt like a disability that would be differently challenged than other people, but then it works to your advantage when you grow up. So that's why today I'm talking about my Lisp specifically, and it's going to be a mini-sode. So happy to see me, happy to see you. So let's start with this idea of having a Lisp. So I was born, like everyone else. And I had nilikuwa na ulimi nzito. So growing up, my speech came later. No, I developed very slowly because I remember even like bedwetting. My younger sister stopped bedwetting before me. So I remember I wasn't very fast in growing. And with my lisp, with my tongue being heavy, I didn't have speech until later on. And when I had speech, it was, what do you call it? Slurred. It's not perfect. It's not good speech. You can't tell the words that I'm saying. And this was normal. I think it was normal. People make fun of you. Your family makes fun of you. But you think it's a normal thing, right? And as I grew up, I started to become insecure about my lisp because then if I ever talked, that's the first thing people would pick up. You can't say your T's, you can't say your S's, you can't say your SH. There's specific pronunciation of consonants that you can't bring out. And so I was very insecure about that, even as a child, a very young child, because I remember in nursery school, I didn't speak a lot because every time I opened my mouth, other kids would be like, Sasa. Na unajua, wewe saizo yako, si mapengo. Mapengo ikiongezwa juu ya hiyo lisp, sasa hata hatujui unasema nini. But one specific reminder of my lisp and how horrible it was is this time when I was primary school. I don't know if everyone did this. There was something called either dictation or pronunciation. I don't remember. But I remember it I think I was in class 1. Yeah, so, and it was examinable. So the teacher, I remember our teacher used to sit outside the class far away from other students, and then you're given a list of words and you're supposed to pronounce them. And I remember pronouncing all the words correctly, but this particular teacher kept wronging me because I can't pronounce the TH and I couldn't pronounce the S's. So I felt really bad and I was crying through that exam. I was just like, you know what I'm saying? When I say teeth, you know I'm saying teeth. I'm saying teeth. That's what I'm saying. But why don't you want to understand that this is, you know what I'm saying? And it's not my fault that I can't pronounce the T, okay? And so it became a little too much for me. And I was like, even just talking to people, like, you just, the minute you say hello and everyone is Fafa, so people bring that back at you. And it was really weird. It was very, very weird. And thinking back, I'm thinking the people who made most fun of my Lisp were actually adults more than kids. And that's just really weird. But anyway, how I dealt with my Lisp. So I started to learn how to pronounce things myself and secretly, because of course, again, you can't show people that you are insecure about. I don't know, but I was hiding. I wasn't doing it in front of people. So whenever I'm alone, I try and pronounce the S, and I try and pronounce the T's, and I just tried and tried and tried until I could master the T's and my S's. I could say teeth. Sometimes starting out, the T wasn't very clear or the S wasn't very clear, but you could feel like it's a clearer S than what I had before. It wasn't a TH, to be specific. So I worked through it, and I remember by the time I was getting to now primary school, the higher classes in primary school, that is class 7, class 8, my T's and S's were a bit better. They were not there yet, but they were a bit better. And then I realized that now there were things that were making me insecure because of my heavy tongue. It's not only the T and S's. I also sang. So my family sings. My mom sings. My sister sings. So we definitely just went like that. And we started singing in church. So when I was singing, and hey, this one I've struggled with it all the way up until now, because when I speak, people tell me you have an accent. I don't have an accent. That's just a certain way I pronounce words that's different because of my tongue. But so when I was singing, my sister and my mom would never let me take lead because they felt that nakula maneno. So I remember this time when I went into immediately after Form 4, and I went into a reality TV series. It was a TV competition like TPF, but gospel. It was called Exodus to Stardom. And there, if I remember, I was very young, but right now I picked out that the vocal coach had favorites, and I wasn't one of them. And I'm really mad. I'm really mad that we were in a place where that called itself a Christian-based space, and you're here to grow, and all that was just nonsense. But I remember her also, when she was telling people to sing, it was my turn to sing, and I was to sing, "Oh Lord, I want you to help me." And she kept telling me, "Can you pronounce Lord as Lord?" And that's exactly what I was saying, but she said I was saying something different, and I can't hear myself because what she's saying is what I'm saying. I don't understand why she thinks my pronunciation is different. And so she just left it at that. She had her favorites who sing nicely, and those are the ones like she tried a little bit more with. So me, I just remained there with my pronunciation, and I didn't know. So that also brought back that insecurity. I was like, wait, have I worked hard all this while? Have people been ignoring the fact that I can't pronounce my T's and S's very clearly? Or is it just this woman who has a problem? Because, and the word, now you're even starting to question yourself more, because the word that she picked me out for was the word Lord, like Lord Jesus Christ. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, all this while I have been struggling with S and T's because they're the most pronounced. But then what in the word Lord am I not pronouncing correctly? Like, do you see how much more I have to think about other things that I talk about every single day, and if people are understanding me? So at that point, I also got to question myself. And at this point, I was around 19. So I'm thinking, wow, all this work I have put into the pronunciation of my words. And then immediately after that reality show, I left, I went and joined Campus. And when I joined Campus, the first thing, of course, I gravitated towards music. And music, I found a guy called Dominic Hayemba, a very talented guy. And he was the one teaching choir that day when I joined. So when I joined and sat at the front, I smiled at him and said, "Hello." And he said, "Thafa." Guys, Hey, me. I'm thinking 19 years of hard work. You can still tell I have a lisp. Nilisikia ni kama nataka kulia. Nilisikia ni kama kiwaru imekwama hapa. But I was like, I'm still gonna work hard. So that also took me back to that space where I started now practicing my words. I'm like, do I speak? And this is, like, you see, there's moments of my life. In high school, people sorry, hey, I've talked about teas so much. In high school, people actually thought I was Black American for the first 2 years of high school. Like, why the fuck is a Black American in Kitale? Angesoma Nairobi. Anywho, so again, I got to realize that it's because my Kiswahili was very bad, so I never used to speak Kiswahili as frequently, and also because my pronunciation of things was very different. What right now people tell me is an accent. But then I guess in high school people didn't know accents, so they just assumed whatever sounded foreign is not from here. But high school, when I played it out, because I had a whole afro, I looked exotic. So in high school, I was able to play that character. But I think after that, I started just questioning again. Then what is the pronunciation of things, you know? So when I got to campus, of course, now I started to explore. And I realized, here is the thing. I realized when I sing, you don't realize I have a lisp. The stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Born lay the world in sin and error pining, till here appeared, and the soul felt his warmth. So that's how I learned how to pronounce, and that's how I learned, even as a kid, that's how I learned to pronounce. I realized that when I'm singing about Jesus Christ, I'll definitely pronounce the S's and the T's and my words will come out clear. But when I speak, probably Jesus Christ doesn't come out as clearly. So I tried and I sang and I tried to. Now, when in singing, there's something called diction. That is something I concentrated on very specifically. And there's a friend of mine who also taught me how to a breathing technique. So breathing technique for singing. So I combined breathing technique and diction, and those are the two things I concentrated on while singing so much, because for the breathing, that would give you time to pronounce each word in a song. So if I was to sing, if I should stay, I would only be in your way. So if you can breathe well, if you learn the breathing technique for singing, then you can pronounce your words well. You have time to still breaths, you have time, it's a whole concept. So I learned diction and specifically, how to breathe. So the diction really helped because over time, I learned how to pronounce. And now you see the trouble pronunciations were T's and C and S's and C's, whatever. So those are the ones I concentrated on. So I tried my best to pronounce things very correctly. And so by the time I was realizing that I have this gift of a beautiful voice and very good diction, I was working in radio. And no, actually before that, because someone gave me a gig, someone was just like, they had me on something. I don't know what I did for them. I think I was doing a teaser for a certain event in school. And when we were listening to it, he just turned to me and was like, then what are you doing with that voice? It was like, what voice? And he said, you have a very beautiful voice. You should get more jobs more jobs of like getting, what are they called? Like voice artist jobs. I thought maybe he was just flattering me because he's always been an awesome guy. But then I thought about it again, and I thought, let me go try and do this a little bit more. And after that, I got a gig on radio, and on radio, all of this just came true. All of these things I'm talking about just came true, and people were like, your diction is amazing. And so while I was working, when I went in radio as the content producer, I was immediately taken up as a voice artist for their classifieds, and everyone was just like, yes, her diction is on point. And that validation was amazing for me. And before long, I was taken in up as the host of the evening drive show, and I had fans. I had actual fans. And I remember in one of the episodes, in one of the shows, while the show was live, you see how people send in like requests and just like comments. So someone sent in a comment and asked, what accent is my accent? And that just took me back again. So, you like, things are going well, and then you get flashes of all these things. Like there are triggers. When someone asks something, it's a trigger, and you go back to that place where you're like, oh, wait, is it because I'm pronouncing something in a different way? Is it, it was, it was a lot. And so, but in radio, I told myself, lazima nijichoche. I was at that point in my life where early 20s, you're just like, Hapa, accent or not. So I remember that day, because when you're on air, you're not allowed to zone out. So when I read the question and it asked about accents, I didn't go into a trauma period. I just went, accent yangu mini ya Kikisi, and we laughed about it and we moved on. So I think in that space, just being very fast to think on my toes and to say that and to move on and to think about it later really helped with that. So doing the classifieds and of course being on radio gave me a little bit more confidence. And of course at the time, everything in terms of voice was happening for me. I started getting contracts for voice in like Kisumu, because I was in Maseno. So in Kisumu, whenever people wanted someone to voice something, an ad, a classified, a TV commercial, a documentary, I was called in for those jobs, and it really helped me with some pocket money for my campus life. And I was thinking, wait a minute. So just later on in life, after I had trained a little bit, because in radio I also found someone to train me a little bit on my pronunciations and how to do basically just voice, and a lot of it for commercial. Later on in life, I just sat back and I was like, the one thing that I thought would be my downfall, which was my Lisp, turned out to be the money earner for me later on in life. Like, I am so glad. I'm happy about where I am. I am so happy about the growth. I look back now and I'm just like, but do things have to be this brutal though? Like, do I have to go through so much insecurities and this feeling of inadequacy for me to get to a point where I just feel like I'm enough and I'm built and I'm great? But I hate telling people that there's a reason for everything, but for this particular challenge that I had, which is my Lisp, I think that was a blessing in disguise. It was supposed to push me towards learning my pronunciations, to push me towards being aware of what I'm saying, to push me towards being aware of how I'm pronouncing words. And that in the end made me a better musician. It made me a better voice artist. It made me confident in how I'm expressing myself. And people do not know that everything about the way I speak is with regards to how heavy my tongue is. So even the placement of my tongue in the mouth, that is how my tone comes out. The tonal variation of my voice comes out. Just the heaviness, the proportion of the tongue in my mouth also affects how my voice is going to come out, how words are going to be pronounced for me, how, a lot of things. And so at the end of the day, when I'm speaking like this, of course, how I'm speaking has been influenced by a lot of things. Being Kenyan, being Luo, so you have a deeper voice. Being, what else? Training, just like being an artist, being a voice artist, being a musician. I think all of those things are also things that play parts. Genes, I think I sound like my sisters. Some people say I sound like some of my sisters or my sisters. I don't know. So a lot of things come to play, but people don't understand that just the one thing also plays part. So what you people now call my accent is heavily, heavily, heavily influenced by my tongue and having a heavy tongue. But right now I've learned how to pronounce things so well. I don't think there is anything that I cannot pronounce except Worcestershire sauce. I'll put it down here because you know what I'm saying. You know the word I'm talking about. Yes, I pronounce a lot of things, but due to the insecurities, if you're very keen, you can notice that my S and T's are a bit more exaggerated. So if I'm talking, if I'm singing, you'll realize that the S's are so S, they are almost a whistle. They're clean. They are clean S's, and the T's are very, very on point. It's a T. It's a very strong T. So I think that of course came from just learning all those things, and that I also learned when I was doing a voice for a documentary, and the client came in and said, "Can you reduce your S's and your T's?" And I didn't know what he was saying. And so when I listened back to my voice, I realized he was saying, "Your Jesus Christ is very Jesus Christy." Yeah, so I'm happy. I'm happy for where I am. I'm not mad. This is the one thing I'm very grateful for. I look back and I'm thinking, how amazing, okay? I'll be setting up my voice profile, which I have for the past 1 year, but 2021 has been difficult, guys. We all agree, right? So I'll be setting up my voice profile, and you can send voice jobs my way. I will be really, really happy. And I'm always happy to voice anything that you have. I'll see if I'll revive my music career. That is the most difficult one I've found to get back to, because like networks in the industry, just confidence, imposter syndrome. There's so many beautiful musicians in Nairobi, outside in Kenya. I just don't know how to get back there. I don't know what my essence of going back to music would be, because I wouldn't say I want to go back and make money. I also don't know what my sound is. I sing really good R&B and blues, but that's just about it. So that is me and the story of my Lisp. So are there challenges that you had growing up, or something that played towards your advantage later on in life that you thought was actually a disadvantage when you were growing up? So let me know in the comments. But right now, I love you, but I gotta leave you. I'll be settled by next week, and we will have another episode in a space that I think is good enough. I'm not even sure if this audio is gonna be very clear, but let's hope. Let us hope. I love you, but I gotta leave you. And in all honesty, you know that I will always be your girl, Olive Orao. Bye. When glorious morn